A new museum is set to open this fall to more widely share the stories of Minnesota veterans. Stories being brought to life by a Minnesota sculptor. Boyd Hupert gives us a sneak peek at some of his premier pieces and the woman behind one of his warriors in the works.
I'm just going to start working here.
Even when he's working alone.
Yeah.
David Geister isn't.
I never get lonely. I always have somebody in the studio with me.
For the past 2 weeks, he's been with someone special.
Kay Bauer, she is a Vietnam War nurse.
2 weeks that started a year and a half ago.
I was tasked with creating at least 13 named Minnesota veterans.
Veterans whose stories will be featured here. The soon-to-be-completed Minnesota Military and Veterans Museum, opening in September near Little Falls, a 40,000-square-foot tribute to those who served, funded with $40 million in public and private donations.
The whole mission of the Minnesota Military and Veterans Museum is to tell the stories of Minnesota warriors. There you are.
And those guests keeping David company?
They'll walk us through Minnesota military history from the Civil War to the War on Terror.
Including Patrick Taylor, who buried his brother Isaac at Gettysburg.
This fellow right here is Chuck Lindbergh, and he is one of the Iwo Jima flag raisers.
All Minnesotans.
General John Vesey, chairman of the Joint Chief of Staff.
Mostly
Virginia Lane Fraser.
departed.
A woman who was a World War II veteran.
Which makes notable David's time with Kay.
I'm the short one.
From her early days in the smallest men's uniform they had.
Then they hand you an M14 and I fell over.
The Navy nurse moved on to spend a year
This is me.
in a primitive South Vietnam hospital.
She has the most delightful smile. If I was looking up, wounded on a gurney or something, and you'd see this face peer down at you, looking into those eyes and thinking, I think it's going to be okay, I think I'm going to be all right.
David has a soft spot for those who care for warriors.
I spent 4 years in the United States Marines when I was a young man.
Then
This is a painting I did for the National Park Service.
the self-taught artist started caring for veterans in his own way
The Battle of Gettysburg.
by painting their stories.
Yeah, this is typically what I do.
These sculpting skills are new for David, honed specifically for this project.
It makes me a little nervous because Kay is going to be able to look at this.
With the permission of the artist,
Can I show you something?
Yes, sir.
we decided to give Kay
This isn't done yet.
a preview.
Oh, for heaven's sakes. Look at that. Oh, can you believe that? I am. Oh, my goodness gracious.
The 89-year-old has told none of her friends about this,
I'm just afraid to tell them.
in case you didn't love her enough
That would be bragging.
already.
You can't do that.
I'm really looking forward to painting her eyes.
For David and Kay and the rest of his company, another mission.
This is without a doubt the most meaningful project I've ever worked on.
Boyd Hupert,
I have to heat up
KARE 11 News,
the clay a little bit.
Minneapolis.
If you'd like to learn more about the new Minnesota Military and Veterans Museum, you'll find a link with this story at KARE11.com. By the way, you may have seen David Geister's work in another format. He created the illustrations for all 5 children's books authored by Vikings Hall of Famer and former Minnesota Supreme Court Justice Alan Page. David says he'll be starting work later this year on a 6th. What a talent. Oh, that's so moving.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, oh my gosh, just a self-taught artist. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to, well, I'm sure we'll do more stories on that museum as it gets closer.
In Little Falls, you said.
Yeah, near
opening
Little
up.
Falls in September.
That's
Very
wonderful.
cool.
Absolutely.